It's just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Kiltesh Patel, MS, MBA. He has 20 years experience in business and information technology within healthcare. His career has focused on product development, commercialization, along with strategic planning and building high-performance teams. He graduated from the Rady School of Management, University of California, San Diego with an MBA, and obtained his MS and BS in computer science from Sardar Patel University in Gujarat, India. Kiltesh, did I say that right? Gujarat?
Gujarat, that's true.
Gujarat?
That's right.
I've lectured in India several times. I absolutely
Oh,
love
you
it.
have?
Yeah. Kiltesh is the founder and CEO at Tab32, a cloud-based technology platform designed for better oral health care outcomes. The company provides the patient health record and practice management service for dental practices as member outreach and education programs for population health. Prior to Tab32, Kiltesh was the Director of Health Sciences at the University of California, where he utilized data for medical informatics, genomics, and translated science research activities. Earlier, he joined MapQuest.com, AOL, as the architect, and was instrumental in developing migration strategies of legacy technologies and positioning products in highly competitive international markets. Tab32 is the industry's #1 cloud dental electronic health record software, dental EHR, and dental practice management system, dental PMS. It is a simple and easy to use dental EHR platform for providers to get started immediately. The cloud dental software is a fully featured software with comprehensive tools to manage demographics, scheduling, charting, insurance, ledgers, reports, and much more. So I remember, it seems like yesterday, you were in the newspaper in the San Diego, the Times of San Diego, and it was 5 questions for a San Diego startup in Tab32. That was when you were in San Diego, and now you're in Sacramento. Sure. So did you leave before or after the Chargers left?
It is after.
So the Chargers left and you said, forget it, I'm out of here.
Yeah. Well, more or less. But what happened was that the tech team that we had was in Sacramento, and we being a tech heavy, we thought that we would initiate, rather than asking them to move to San Diego, we would build our tech team out of Sacramento. So that's what happened. And we finally said, okay, let's have a Sacramento as our headquarter.
You know, it really doesn't make sense when you go into say a McDonald's and you see that every single McDonald's has their own Intel computer, their own hardware, their own software, firewall. I mean, cloud just makes a better sense. But as a dentist, is this bleeding edge technology or is this leading edge technology? Is it gonna be or is it here?
It's already here. So, I mean, if you think from the perspective of where cloud is going, Gartner, one of the leading research institutes, says that 32 billion is already on the cloud. And within next 4 years, it will be 10x, 300 billion we are talking about. So, I mean, cloud, if we like it or not, is already moving and coming. It's like that, right? That we don't go to teller in a bank anymore, right? It's all cloud-based. And that is where the cloud is. And where Tab32 comes in is it's like, again, from the Gartner's perspective and report that came out that Google was one of the top in their quadrant out of among 3 companies to build an infrastructure, which is truly a bleeding edge cloud infrastructure. And that is where, we have built our infrastructure completely cloud-based, bleeding edge. You talk about big data, big analysis, big table, Node, JavaScript, and all those technologies that allows you to rapidly scale. That is where, Tab32 is, and it's a bleeding edge technology. I mean, we could talk a lot more, but that's where the cloud stands. And, there's a lot of also misinformation or misrepresentation that exists, which is, cloud-based versus cloud-hosted. And I feel that there is a subtle difference of cloud hosting it, like taking your computers and the servers that you were just mentioning, to to the cloud and hosting it, and then accessing through VPNs or whatnot, or even browser in many cases if it is a web application. But with the cloud, truly what it allows us is to scale rapidly. It then allows us to really build an infrastructure that is truly scalable across the country, you name it, right? Or from the perspective that you need number of locations, it's all scalable from that perspective as well.
So I used SoftDent for 30 years, and it just kept crashing. It just kept crashing. It just crashing. And it was my programmers over here at Dentaltown that programmed Dentaltown, and they go, dude, it's a 30-year-old dinosaur. But my problem was when you've used something from 1987. I mean, I used SoftDent older than all four of my kids. It was very tough. What would you say to old people like me who have been on the same legacy system for 30 years, and they're thinking, they don't even know what you said. They don't even know what cloud is. and you said the difference between putting on the cloud or cloud stack, but I'm going to go even before that. Out of all the things that are on your resume, I mean, my God, you've been in this space forever. Why tab 32? How did you go from AOL.com to 2 decades later, tab 32? How does that work on a journey?
Well, that's a personal journey, but what happened is that I moved, this AOL happened even before Google Map existed. So this is back in 2000 early. And then I moved for a while into the healthcare, and I've been working with medical informatics, you name it, like all the record keeping for the patients, and the genomics and other aspects of it, where there is a lot of need, but I felt like those needs could equally be translated into dentistry, where it stood when I looked at it 5 years ago now.
But why dentistry? I mean, even in healthcare, why not dermatology? Why not cardiology?
Well, we looked right. So we looked at few things. One was dermatology, another was the gynecology. There were many other areas which were ancillary from the broader healthcare mainstream perspective. And I felt that dentistry was something where there were few distributors, or couple distributors rather, providing the services. And they are selling SKUs, basically 150 different thousand SKUs, software being among them, and felt like there was a need here that could help and elevate the way the dentistry is really done or served, and could be provided a better solution from a technology perspective that could also open up a broader, not just from a tech replacement perspective, but the way also truly allowing to serve the patient through the various experiences or the care across the care continuum. So that's where I came into dentistry from the broader healthcare, and making by trying to build this platform out.
I'm so I've been writing the software companies my whole career, because when you go to lecture at a dental company, you walk into the Marriott. Well, they don't pull up some screen with 1,000 icons. They open up a process, and they're like, what is your name? Do you have a credit card, an ID? They ask you like 7 things to check you in. And when you leave, they check you out. When you go to Hertz Rent-A-Car, everything makes you do everything faster, easier, higher quality, lower cost, in a smaller, more succinct way. And then you go into dentistry. My God, you open up the screen. There's on Dentrix. There's like 4,820 billion different functions. The Dentrix rep will even tell you that he can run go into your software and show you that you've never used 85% of it a single time. And it's like, well, if we've never used 85% of it a single time, then can you take all that shit out of there so I can train someone off the street how to use it in 5 minutes? You find people that have been on Dentrix for 5 years, and you say, well, how many reports does Dentrix have? Does it have 5, 50, 100? 150, 200? And she says, I don't know. It's like, you've been on this one software for 5 years, and you can't tell me anything about it. It's just so noise, and oh my, my blood pressure boils when I start talking about dental software. So I'm kind of curious, like, why were you interested in dentistry, and what is your vision for this? So it sounds like one of your biggest visions is getting it cloud, so at least you don't have to. Will that help in ransomware? We just had a big ransomware issue in Wisconsin where a lot of my homies thought they were doing the right thing. They were using the security from the Wisconsin Dental Association. They thought they did everything right, and then they all got ransomware. So if I was hosting it on the cloud, but you said something else, cloud servers versus cloud hosting, or
No, so there are multiple issues going on, and your question is quite loaded from the depth perspective. So let me break it down into multiple pieces over here. One is are we trying to replace a legacy technology? And the answer is really no. We are not trying to replace any legacy technology. What is happening, Howard, is that if you look last 10, 20 years, just like you have mentioned, the innovation in technology almost remains at almost none in the dentistry or the dental software or practice management systems. So what has happened over the last 15, 20 years is there has been silos of functional softwares coming into play. Like you suddenly are dealing with your online booking system separately. You are dealing with your communication system separately. You're dealing with your radiology attachments and all kinds of different softwares that have come around in support of practice management. But what has happened during the same period is that you end up working with too many vendors, and it has really allowed, or not allowed, I would say, but what I would say is it has created a number of vendors there that has created inefficiencies in the practices when you're dealing with these 5 different things. So what we have done is we have taken a step back, and that is where I said that no, it is not just a replacement of a cloud software. What we are taking is cloud is just a means to serve the purpose for us. But what we have done is we have looked at complete care continuum from patient's experience perspective, and that is what we have built out on the Tab 32. So that's how we think from the disruption perspective that what you need is not this 5 different things to do your job, but how can we create those efficiencies that sets you on the path for growth and profitability. So when it comes to Tab 32, we think as a whole care continuum, and that is where we serve. So that probably helps answer one of the questions, that are we trying to replace legacy systems? Answer is yes and no, but mostly it's leveraging the cloud to meet the ends is what it is. And then second thing that you had mentioned in somewhere was about the ransomware. So the ransomware basically sits on the local machine when the server is within the practice or even hosted on the cloud, for example, and you happen to click some random emails or something, and ransomware hits to your machine for that reason, and it locks your data, and then you need to pay the Bitcoin or whatever. So what happens with that is that either you have a backup or you just have to pay the Bitcoins. But that is where those 400 offices in the Midwest got compromised, and it was a bit of a situation for those practices. But with Tab 32, basically what you're doing, Howard, is that you're taking the whole infrastructure out from your office. So let's say even if ransomware hit the computer in the dentist's office, all you do is just reset the computer, and next time it's up, it's all good. There is no issues. The reason is data just doesn't sit on the local disk or local. It's all on the cloud. And then I think the last piece that you touched upon was the difference of cloud-based versus cloud-hosted. So the difference is very subtle when you take, for example, Dentrix or Open Dental or whatever it is, which is a client-server technology. and you host that server onto a rented machine on the cloud, then that's the hosted solution basically, or cloud hosted solution, versus where Tab 32 is not really that. It's a truly multi-tenant cloud leveraging functions built on Google infrastructure, cloud software, truly a cloud-based software. So I hope that helps you answer all those 2 or 3 points that you made.
Yeah. So, it's really weird in dentistry because the dentist is overtrained. I mean, we have 8 years of college, and I'm not sure what of the 4 years of undergrad really applied to the dentistry. The hygienists have 4 years of college. The dental assistants, all mine went to 1 year of college. But the ladies up front, they don't have any formal training for this. And they're the most experienced person. I mean, they answer the phone, but all these softwares, all these practice management systems, they don't measure or tell you how many incoming phone calls. They don't record the phone calls. They're all coming to us by a smartphone, but none of these softwares tell us how many people land on our website, how many converted to us. So so I think DSOs have a major advantage because this individual dentist has to wear so many hats that he can't wear them, and a DSO can get a layer of management to wear this. So I was wondering, how will this help them work smarter? How will it help the workflows so that less people can do more productive work?
Right. So I think what you're alluding is something that relates to not just DSO, but just operational efficiency, and how do I really sustain my operation in such a highly competitive market these days, because of a lot of influx of variety of reasons here. So what we have done is, from the ground up, built those patient engagement workflows within the system. So when you come to Tab 32, you can literally book an appointment right from your website. So what happens today for a dentist is that when a patient is searching, hey, find me a dentist near me, you open and go to Google, do that. You go to your website, but unfortunately you have a form to fill up. So you fill up the form, and nobody knows if that form gets ever replied, or you call, and if it is after 5, maybe office is not even there. So that creates that black box. So what we did was, we right from the system itself built out an online booking system. So you could do varieties of ways, but not just booking or requesting. And there is a subtle difference also that I would want to point here, that booking an appointment and requesting an appointment is 2 different things, and we have both those systems implemented. So a booking means that it actively looks at your calendar and makes sure that you don't have conflict, and books and confirms an appointment with the patient. Requesting is still requesting, as the name sounds, right? But what we have done is we have added that into the flow. And then we have also gone to an extent that, sometimes, because let's say your geographical area has a lot of no-shows, then how can you avoid those no-shows while booking online is also taken care of by collecting a co-payment or some kind of fees that upfront from the patient. So we have taken care of all of those things. And if you think this is a sales funnel, so a lot of people end up on your website. Patient generally, and this is you and me as well, when we go to a website, our attention span is 15 to 30 seconds. That is about it. So if I don't book you, or if I don't get you there, then most likely, I'm gone. So that is where Tab 32 comes in, allows you to book an appointment right from there where you are on the site of the provider, and it directly integrates within the Tab 32 system. And not just that, right? It does many other functions. Like, for example, if you're online and you booked an appointment, we want to make sure that we collect information on you, like your insurance information, your health history, your dental history background, and whatnot. So our system automatically also makes sure that patient is aware, or the prospective patient is aware. They filled out the form online, and it automatically ties that back into the patient's clinical chart. So it creates that whole set of efficiency, and that's just one layer of efficiency and engagement that we are talking. We've gone too deep into a lot of other processes with the post-visit and the recare as well onto the platform, which is all integrated seamlessly. which creates, all in all efficiency from an engagement perspective. But more importantly, if you think today the dental practice, the practice the four walls of the practice are blurring in the age of this internet and consumerism. You really need to be where the patient is, and journey of that care just doesn't end within the practice; it continues after as well. So we have taken care and deeply understood this workflows of how it really could be meaningful, engaging to a patient, and then implemented that across. And that basically what it does is it allows you to really, even if you're a solo or a multiple practice, allows you to provide that consistent patient experience from the platform.
It almost sounds like Tab 32 is two things. It's a cloud dental electronic health record software, dental EHR, and a dental practice management system that does your, scheduling, charting, insurance ledgers, reports, and all that. Is that kind of what is the difference between the cloud dental electronic health record software, dental EHR, versus the dental practice management system, dental PMS?
Right. So traditionally, where I come from, the background of EHR is basically thought of as a clinical health records or the health records, and the practice management is more sort of as a scheduling system and your accounting system. So if you put this together in dentistry, it's all called practice management. And I know that some of the companies earlier in the day used to sell clinical as a separate module as well. So that's where we came from, saying it's an EHR, but now that it's merged into dentistry, it's a one system, which is dental practice management system.
And go ahead.
Also, I wanted to highlight here that it's the system that we have built out is not just a dental practice management system. It basically is 5 in 1. What I mean by that is you have your patient communication and engagement platform right out of the box. You have your radiology, and we are the only one in the industry who can provide offline imaging solution, even though it sits on the cloud, just like your Google Drive. The third piece of it is the electronic claims right within the system and the electronic attachments right within the system. So these are like all 4 or 5 things combined. You get one system. And on top, we have also implemented analytics or / accounting, however you want to name it, within the platform that gives you out of the box analytics component on the platform.
Now, did one of the reasons you moved from San Diego to Sacramento is because the CDA is there? Was that the big driver, or does that have nothing to do with it?
No, it has nothing to do with it.
Really? I guessed it would have had something to do with it, but not really.
No, not really.
Huh? Because you're only 3 miles from the CDA.
Yeah, they are right around the corner, but haven't met anyone there. No.
Really?
Yeah.
So you
except the conventions.
Well, you in your whole website, you always call it patient first software. Why? And I love, I really do love the way you use the experiential economy. I mean, Harvard has been talking about that for so long that when a product gets commoditized, and dentistry has, then experience matters. And by the way, what I mean by commodity is, homies, is listen to this very clearly, because you got to really understand this. You have to listen to the patient, the customer. When you listen to the customer and they're talking about their best friend had their appendix rupture and they rush her to the hospital, and you take all the conversations of the family, like, well, is she okay? Did she live? No one talks about, well, did you take her to the hospital in Mesa or Tempe or Scottsdale? There's no discussion of that, because doctors, physicians, dentists, hospitals, we got so good that people just figure, well, if you're going to have a baby or your appendix ruptures or you need your wisdom tooth out, isn't that what doctors do? So we became so good that if your insurance says, well, if half of America goes to these dentists, it's going to be cheaper than you go out of network. Well, people just follow the insurance. They follow the network because they think, well, there's no way you could be working in a hospital in Sacramento and when my girlfriend shows up with a ruptured appendix, I mean, isn't that what you do? Didn't you go to school for like 10 years? So we actually got so good because if you go back to the 50s, everyone knew that doctor was a quack. That one was better. That one worked with the Mayo Clinic. This guy should be in jail. But that's not the way anymore. We're so good. We became a commodity. So now experience matters. What does the term experiential economy mean to you?
It is exactly those things, Howard, that you have described, is that just because of the internet and the pricing transparency or the service transparency and the efficiencies that it has created, the negotiating power for a dentist is really, his or her contract. And those prices are out really in the open, difficult to manage, and maybe that's the way it should be, or maybe not, but that's a different topic here. But the pricing information out there does not really allow you to, and this is bear me, this is a bit of a business school word here, that does not allow you to discriminate on that factor out of this different factors that are available to differentiate your business. So that is where, when the pricing factor does not allow you to discriminate, the other factor or the key factor that leaves you or separates you as an Howard and then the other dentist or dentist would be the experience, and that is exact definition that I would see, and where we come from is that it's extremely critical today, being an internet the way it is, the walls being blurred of a practice. The experience starts from the home of the patient today. It doesn't start over the phone or when patient comes, which was 10 years, let alone 5 years ago. It starts in the home of the patient. It continues even after the patient is gone back home, right? That all together for us is an experience, an experiential economy. And you see it across the board. This is where it is going. You name any vertical. It's not just dentistry. Even, we're seeing this tremendous in different ways in e-commerce sector and whatnot. So this is happening across the board. Unlike just bit of in healthcare, which is slightly different in that sense, but you're seeing that also some of the factors like ophthalmology is exactly going into that direction as well, right? So those are some of the things that are changing, and they're changing rapidly. It's I won't call it a wave; it's a tidal that is happening.
I was wondering, you're the founder and CEO of this company, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a board certified famous periodontist, Michael S. Grossman, is he's your executive chairman. What's his relationship? Why does a board certified periodontist, the executive chairman at Tab 32, what's his role in all this?
Right. So he has been instrumental in a lot of areas, but his background, just to give you a little more where he comes from, he had dental indemnity plans and a lot of other things like discount plans. He was, I think, arguably the first in California to start those plans, and his company got bought out by one of the big insurance company, and that's when he came on Tab 32, and we both saw that there is an opportunity here within the dentistry where data does sit under the practice in a silo, and we could really leverage this to benefit for a greater good. So that's how he came on board with the Tab 32, and he is an executive chairman, and that is his role at the company.
And to the young kids coming out of school, My gosh, they did everything in undergrad to get into dental school. They did everything in dental school just to graduate. They finally graduated. They're working now. They're gonna spend about 5 years working for some DSO, Patterson, whatever. Heartland. All those different DSOs. When they're gonna leave their associate job and they're gonna start their own practice, what should they be thinking about as far as practice management software? Why should they be thinking about Tab 32 as opposed to Dentrix, EagleSoft, or who would you say your main competitor is?
Well, so in the legacy space, you just mentioned the Dendrix would be one. Other one would be the SoftEnd that you had mentioned. I think you are on SoftEnd, right? So those EagleSoft, other one. In the web application space, I would say Curve Dental or Planet DDS could be another one on the web application space for our competition. And the message that I would send across is two things. One, when you're opening your practice, make sure that you invest in technology enough. Not that you have to buy these bulky servers and the configurations, but you need the up-to-date technology. The reason one being, the way consumer consumes or the patient consumes the service, dentistry in this case, is way different than it was even 5, 10 years ago. So you need up-to-date tools in your arsenal, and make sure that the experience is highly factored in, because that is how you differentiate yourself. And we've talked a lot about this experience factor that differentiates you from the others in the space. And Tab 32 is a place where you would go to do 4 or 5 things in a single platform, or on a single platform, from all the way from a booking an appointment to making sure that money is in the bank once the service has been completed, even after for the post cares. So that is where Tab 32 comes, and it's a very contemporary technology, and I would say it's one of the first in the cloud space, which is truly a cloud-based technology and not just makeshift or hosted web app or even web application or the hosted solution.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question, and when I'm done, you're going to think I'm crazy. So I'm just going to tell you first, I am crazy, but this is a serious question. There's every time there's anyway, long story short, whenever there's a ransomware outbreak or whatever, there are some people who think that someday, the internet will go down, that it'll be a war between Russia, China, the U.S. Does it ever worry you that the internet will go down?
No, it doesn't worry me. Just back of the mind, right? How long have you been doing banking, Howard?
My whole life.
Whole life, right? Have you ever realized that when you log in, it's on cloud, all your money is on the cloud? It's even bigger than dentistry and market, right? The whole money, all the money is in the cloud. Nobody knows really. It's a digital money, even though we are talking about currency, but it's still digital. So banking has already been on cloud for a while, and we are comfortable with that.
But do you
Even
think
our
do you think like China or North Korea or Russia or the United States in a cyber war that can shut down the internet, or when people say things like that, do they not understand the internet?
It's difficult to shut down an internet in such a scenario. But even that being said, let's say if there was a blip and let's say you got disconnected to an internet for a couple hours, but rest be assured that your data is safe. Your data sits on an infrastructure which is highly secured, type 2 SOC 2, which is a banking grade security or in that sense is sitting on those infrastructures. So when you get back to internet, you get all your information right back. So it doesn't really, that concern shouldn't be a concern. Otherwise, you should start putting the money that you put in the bank in your home as well, because that's exactly the same concern.
Another big issue is open source, interoperable data migration. One of the fastest growing dental software companies in America is Open Dental, and just because it's open, if your brother's a programmer, he can custom it. Whereas you go to Dentrix and EagleSoft, it is a closed system. Is yours an open system designed? Talk about open system, open source, interoperable, data migration. What I do is I throw so many loaded questions out there that hopefully there's something that you'll want to answer.
Well, I'll try to answer as much as I can. So open source, I would say, which is OpenNL as well. I would think that there was a time and day when I thought that was really cool to give you access of, or possibly a way to query your data or build an infrastructure on top of it. Because all the other systems, which are all of legacy right now, Denrix, all of them, didn't really allow you to do much when it came to the data and working with those data, pulling out reports, recalls, and whatnot. Didn't allow. So I thought back in time, it was really cool. Since we have progressed, and this is like 5-10 years we are talking, there are systems which allows you to do right out of the box. So I think open source is not necessarily the key at this point. Yes, 10 years ago, it was probably one of the cool thing, I feel like 10-15 years ago. Now it's not so much of a key because cloud allows you to do that from an infrastructure perspective. And also the part is interoperability that you just mentioned, I think, in your question as well. So that is where we feel that interoperability is extremely important moving forward, because now your
Explain
data
what that
is
means
already
in case someone didn't know what that was.
right.
Interoperable.
Right, interoperable is something which two systems can communicate. It is that simple in a language that both understands, right? Today, if you look at all the legacy systems, Denrix, EagleSoft, they won't talk to each other, or let alone talk to each other, but their data itself is so hard to even migrate from one system to other without some percentage of data losses, and that's the reality of the situation. So if you and with from your platform, actually I would propose that and we are very proponent of standardizing the data, which allows to do this interoperable functions across various different needs. Then we would want to lead that effort and create those infrastructure for the community that allows the data to move among these different platforms or various other things. And Tab 32, in fact, is interoperable. We have built our system based on the latest healthcare fire-based JSONized infrastructure. So what it means, Howard, is that you can take our data and run with it, unlike other systems where they don't even acknowledge or give you a data in a standardized format from the migration perspective or from moving from one system to other system.
Another key area is you have a practice management software system like Dentrix or EagleSoft or SoftDent, which you say is not interoperable, but your QuickBooks, you run all your books on QuickBooks Professional Online, and so when a dentist is done for the day, I'll say, well, how many people did you see? And he'll say 20, and I'll say, well, for the whole day, what did you collect? Did you collect $2,000? Did you make 500? Well, none of that talks to his QuickBooks Online, and so I feel like every single dental office is schizophrenic, multiple personalities, bipolar, because they got half their brain in QuickBooks Intuit.com and half their books in a practice management system. How do we work our way out of that?
So from Tab 32, what we have done, we understand that problem, and that problem basically is not just an accounting perspective, but it is more of your analytics perspective, which is, was I profitable today? Did I see even for that example, right? Did I see the right patient with the right insurance that would allow me to have a better margins than somebody I saw who had less margin? So that analytics, what we have done is we have figured out all the metrics behind it and built it right within the platform. So what it does, It tells you exactly what was your production, where did you earn your production, what was your collection, where did you have to write off, which ones were, and we go to a level, and it goes into details like, by the providers, if you're multi-provider office, multi-location, it's all covered within that analytics engine and gives you this 100 different widgets to really work with. But we go in fact, to a depth to give you that what is the square footage earnings of your practice. That's the basic unit number. If you look at the DSO markets, a lot of them are running with this number. Like, what is your square foot earning? That is how our analytics engine goes deep, keeping the accounting tax purposes separate, right? This is more of an analysis of a practice itself.
Well, yeah, I mean, square foot earnings, that is just standard operating procedure when you're trying to
Right.
study Walmarts and Targets and all that kind of stuff. I always think, if I was a company like you and I was selling something that made sense from a business point of view, wouldn't the DSOs be more intelligent to focus on because they got a layer of management that just thinks business, whereas dentists are so busy running off to the Pankey Institute and Coyce and Spear and Clinical that they don't. Have you had much success with DSOs? Do DSOs use you? How's your success there?
So to give you the success, so the company has been for 5 years, and we took good amount of time, 2 to 3 years, to build the product out, and it's still ongoing because there is never end to a change in technology and making product better. But little over 2 years, we have been into the business and the market with the platform technology. We have amassed over more than 1 million outpatient records. We are talking about 400 practices in less than 2 years, over 1,500 users actively using Tab 32 platform. From the breakdown perspective, we have solo providers, we have DSOs on our platform. One of our biggest DSO is 30 plus practices on the platform already using the software. We also have varieties in a way that we also have a lot of school-based dentistry addressing like a statewide dental school-based dentistry is on our platform, and a couple of big franchises who are really backed by the equity groups are also on the platform. So we are addressing this because we know that we have created the right kind of technology. In an analogy, it's a kind of a multi-tenant system, which is a high-rise condo, highly customizable, that allows to serve these different various needs within the dentistry or within the market.
Huh. That is very interesting. So succinctly, my homies want to learn about bone grafting. They want to learn how to place an implant. They're chefs, man, and they want to get in the kitchen and bake. Succinctly, how are you different?
The difference is twofold. One, we are completely built on an experience, which is, from start to beginning, from patient first perspective, which is our core feature across all the practice managements. For example, I'll just show you here, and then I'll go into the second piece. Oh, my laptop is dead, but I think you have a lot of, sorry, not laptop, but the tablet is dead. You have seen the pictures. They are what it is on our website as well. If you go, it's simple what you need to see. It's intuitive built. So we haven't built, like you mentioned earlier as well, that there were screens of icons and you are only using 20% of that functionality. We have built our system that way. You only see 5 or 6 icons in a care workflow. What you need most from the clinical perspective is patient's insurance information, patient's medical history, patient's x-ray information, and clinical information along with the progress note. Those are the 5 icons that you see when you are on the Tab 32. So we have thoughtfully designed our workflow. So that is where we differentiate ourselves among Dentrix and all of the others, where you see sets and sets of icons. Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't make sense. So that's one big area that we differentiate ourselves from the competition. And then the second area that we highly differentiate ourselves is more on the focus, where you are looking at one technology platform instead of 4 or 5 different things that or vendors that you need to get your day done. It's basically in nutshell an operational efficiency besides growth and profitability that entails overall. Does that help answer succinctly
yeah,
your question?
what did you think of the 5 questions for a San Diego startup tab 32 that the Times of San Diego left? What did you think of that interview? And what
that Oh my God, that has been a long time for me. I think it happened probably 15, if I'm remembering correct, 2015. It's been a while. I haven't looked at it. But I'll say that was a conceptual stage and this is an execution stage. And what has happened is we have grown our business and getting stronger and stronger from that day to today.
I also I know there's a World Series on tonight. It's the 7th game, and so I'm not going to hold you longer than I have to. But I still got a few questions.
Please.
You see a lot of dashware companies popping up. They're popping up everywhere, which again is it. I get underneath the problem that you need all these dashboards because if you have half your information in QuickBooks Online and you have half of your information in your dental practice management software, and then the staff doesn't know what's going on. So what is your thought about dashboards? Do you think a dashboard should work with tab 32? Do you think or tab 32 should merge with QuickBooks Online to merge that data so you don't need a third-party vendor? Or what is your how do you get your amazing brain around dashboards?
So that's what I'd mentioned to you in the analytics question that you had asked me. Dashboard, it is already part of tab 32. It comes out of box. You really don't need to go and have yet another system or a vendor that really does your analytics or dashboard. Our dashboard is very comprehensive. Like I said, the analytics engine runs on and the front end is the dashboard, which is the UI that we're talking about. And it goes deep dive, number of crowns, number of implants, number of referrals, which you had mentioned even earlier that, hey, how do you really make sure that the patient that lands on a website comes and sees me and how much money I made. Those kinds of dashboards are also implemented in the tab 32 right out of the box. And dashboard is basically just an UI, presentation of that analytics.
And what is a UI?
User interface or the graphs and other things, right? More technical.
I know my dentist, and a lot of them. I mean, here's what it's probably with all humans. They fear opening up their own practice at a dental school, so they go work for somebody else until they're so miserable. They're so miserable they don't even want to live anymore, and they have to get to that state before that's enough to get them over the fear of opening your own office. And I just tell them, just do it now. Just absolutely do it now. Don't wait till you hit rock bottom. Another big fear is I hate my practice management software, but they believe in the conversion that when they power it up, they're when they open up your chart, it's not going to say Kiltesh Patel. It's going to say macaroni and cheese, and all the data is crazy. How does your conversion look?
Yeah, so conversion, like I said before as well, that we are working on improving the conversions. And just because, the companies or the legacy softwares out there are not really transparent and their data is encrypted sometimes. So it's hard and difficult question, but I would say that the conversion always, and this is for any true migration, you go search internet and you will find it that most migration has some kind of data loss, 5%, 2%, 10%. And it is true for dentistry as well. You go to any software, there could be a data loss, but what are those data loss? Are they critical or not? So what we do, Howard, is diligently work, and we do a lot of these migrations for SoftDent and whatnot, EagleSoft, Dentrix and all. We look at core informations like make sure that let's get your accounting, aging report. Let's get all the demographics. Let's get all the progress and clinical information, the scheduling portion. So we look at all of these things, check with the practice, and make sure that the data is intact. And sometimes here and there issues happen, and we go back, find those data, or we figure out a strategy to work with it, and how practice move into the direction of the cloud. But more importantly, Howard, I would want to take a step back and see that, yeah, it goes crazy when you are going migration, but that's not strategic. What has happened is that you need to position your practice more strategically than trying to be a prisoner of that data and the migration. What you want to think is, can I grow with existing infrastructure or tech structure to where I need to be if I'm starting this practice? If I'm starting this practice new, or if I'm starting and taking over somebody's practice, I really need to grow this practice to this X dollars or Y dollars. When you put that strategy together and you see that, hey, if I need 20% or 10% of even growth, does my existing infrastructure help? Can I live with that and make it work? Or do I need to take a step back and really do a ground up implementation strategically to make sure that we are ready to grow? Because most entrepreneurs, most dentists really are stepping in. It's crazy for them, but they have a dreams as well to have second, third, fourth, and fifth practices, or to become a big DSO as well. And that is where that strategy comes really into help, saying let's look at the larger picture and make the right technology choice given the problems and nuances.
Okay, I promise you I'll shut up and quit asking so many questions, but I still got one final question, because back to accounting, back to QuickBooks Online. Another, if the DSO people are right, Heartland's coming up on 1,000 offices, and a lot of people say, well, could Heartland run 1,000 offices on QuickBooks Online? I mean, when you look at the S&P 500, they're all on the software out of Germany. What is their SAP software, or what is
SAP?
SAP.
Yes, SAP.
And then Microsoft, which is over on your side on the coast, they bought Great Plains Accounting, and so a lot of people think, is accounting going to be like QuickBooks Online for like a small mom and pop business, and SAP accounting out of Germany for the entire S&P 500 is on that, and they're all incorporated out of Delaware? What about a middle market? What about a Heartland? Could a Heartland or an Aspen or a Pacific Dental, could they run 500 to 1,000 offices off QuickBooks Online? And if you connected that to tab 32?
I suspect that it would. They would definitely need more managed accounting, because mostly a dentist, and this is more of a nuances within the accounting as well. And we're talking purely from the accounting perspective, is that there is a cash basis and there is an accrual basis. And at 4 million or 5 million, federal you need to change it to accrual basis. That could change lot of reporting structure. So for the bigger and larger DSOs, it's a lot more complicated than probably an online QuickBooks can handle. And I'm pretty sure they have different systems to manage this thing. Compared to, if you're growing and if you're a dentist, probably QuickBooks might be an answer to it. But again, it needs to be looked more thoroughly. And I'm not an expert in an accounting really to help answer that question. But I can definitely answer the analytical questions of how can I help to grow the practice through doing this X thing or Y thing, or how could you relate your insurances and what type of insurances can earn you better. Those things tab 32 can do, but I think that would be a boundary where tab 32 would come in with, and then let the taxation and other issues be handled by more professional software and people.
So you're saying QuickBooks Online, that the driver is when you need to switch from cash accounting to accrual accounting, and you think that's at about the $5 million mark?
I think 4 or 5. I think whatever that federal, I'm not an expert here, but whatever that federal guidelines are, where you need to report accordingly. So I think, and again, I'm not saying that you could do one or not. All I'm trying to say is somebody more expert needs to be brought in
Well,
and
when you're
look
trying to run
at
when you're trying to run the details of a dental office and a business, and you get really get focused on that. I mean, I came out my 30-day dental MBA in 1998, and dentists they ask real meat and potato questions like they hate payroll. They don't want to do their payroll.
yeah.
ADP does 1 in every 6 Americans payroll check. How do you if someone had tab 32, what would you recommend how they do payroll?
So ADP is a good system. Intuit has another good system. They are all online based system that they could use, and the logs or the entries for the people's or the staff's hour could be logged within the tab 32, and then export it into the Intuit or ADP to the payroll side of it, and tax withholding and whatnot that comes along with that.
And the practice management software, I mean, the practice management accountants say that when they go into a dental office, half of them are being embezzled against. Now, remember that's a weird sample size because obviously you're a dentist in America and you don't have any money, so you need a consultant. So I'm sure a lot more of them are getting embezzled from than dentists who live in America, work hard, and have cash flow. Do you what are your thoughts on tab 32 and embezzlement?
Right. So what we have done is that we have put in the audit tracking for every single entry. And if you make any changes or even if you read any record, we are recording that behind the scenes. So what happens is that administrator of the system has access to all this information, let alone if you try to delete a check, then it will flag it. So they or even the payment, any type of payment, not just check, but any type of payment, it will log it. And there are logs that will help the embezzlement experts because embezzlement could happen at many degrees, not within the platform, but sometimes not deposited in the bank and whatnot, or check being cashed out at elsewhere, right? So tab 32 has that framework or the foundation, rather not a framework, but a foundation that helps the forensic expert to look into the details and get to the cause of it.
And my final question, you went to the Rady School of Management, right?
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Now that the Chargers left, do you think they should change it to the Tom Brady School of Management? How would that go over?
So Rady Foundation has been very instrumental in San Diego. Ernest Rady is one of the big donors in the school, and he has done a lot for the community there. And like Children's Hospital, he has a huge hospital for Rady. He has done a lot other philanthropic activity in San Diego, and I feel like his support to the school was also extremely important for the school, and its support. The school itself is an entrepreneurial school, promotes the entrepreneurism and in the curriculum. So I feel like that support and that blessing is extremely important for the community in San Diego, and many thanks to him actually.
Ernest Ray. What
Ready.
Ernest Rady? I mean Ernest Rady. What? How did he? Where did he make his mark? Where did he make his? What kind of
Uh,
business was he in? How did he get that kind of money?
so I've met him once, but I know that he has his own equity group and funds, and he is big in construction and a lot of other things that goes around.
Huh. Well, hey, thank you so much for giving me an hour of your life today. Thank you so much for posting on Dental Town. Like I say, dentists, they want to be surgeons that work with their hands in an operatory. You come in, you have a problem. We want to fix that, but in order to do that, we have to wear so many hats. And business and marketing and accounting and finance. And I'm just always trying to help my dentist homies get to spend more time working on a patient instead of figuring out all this stuff. And you've helped very, very much with a lot of specific questions. Thank you so much for coming on the show today and talking to all my dentists.
Well, thank you so much, Howard, for an opportunity to come speak in your podcast. And I hope I've tried to answer as much as I could, but I'm still available on the forums and everywhere.
How does someone contact you if they have a specific question? What would be the best way?
If they have, right, the forums are there, the dental forums are there on your side, or they could also ping me on the LinkedIn. I'm there actively responding to all the questions, and it's open profile, so anyone can send a message across as well, or even they can call on tab32.com's any phone number if need arises, and I'm happy to take a call and help. And again, thank you so much, Howard, and it was wonderful, and thanks for an opportunity.
Thank you. Have a rocking hot evening.